Good morning, everybody. It's good to see everybody again. So we are going to jump into my part here, current events. Can everybody see the screen?
Not yet.
Not yet.
No, I don't see anything.
Oh, I thought this would work. I was wrong.
Are you sharing?
Yeah, I thought I was, but I'm just going to redo it. Share the screen. And start. Is that better?
Yeah, we can see that now.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we're going to look at a couple of things today here. A couple of different articles, maybe three, actually three. And it's going to play right into talk about what Stan was talking about earlier. And we're looking at CBDC. Okay, this article comes from CoinDesk. And it talks about, of course, wealth management, investments, things of that nature. Now, look at this title. Nigerians' rejection of their CBDC is a cautionary tale for other countries. So right now, the Nigerians are protesting the African country's digital currency and demanding renewed access to paper money. So let's read a little bit. In Nigeria, citizens have taken to the streets to protest the nation's cash shortage, further objecting to their government's implementation of a central bank digital currency, or CBDC. The shortage came about due to cash restrictions aimed at pushing the country into a 100% cashless economy. Yet, instead of adopting the CBDC, Nigerian protesters are demanding paper money be restored. The country's experience strongly suggests the average citizen understands that CBDCs present a substantial risk to financial freedom while providing no unique benefit. Okay, so the people don't want this central bank digital currency. They don't want it. And it's no secret that they don't want it. Now, why am I talking about this now? Because earlier we had Stan and Pastor Joe both make reference and actually give messages on CBDCs, especially Stan has been talking about that. And so I found these two articles specifically mentioning Nigeria. Why? Because Nigeria has really been ground zero for the CBDC. Okay, so they're testing this right now, see what people do, how much they can take, if they just comply or not. And so what's pretty much doing is they just had an election and their government decides, hey, we're having an election. It's an election year. You know what? We're going to introduce this CBDC. Okay, we're going to see, we need this, we got to do it right now. So what they do is they pretty much decide to do that, go with a CBDC adoption. Well, these adoption incentives have failed in Nigeria. So the Nigerian government has unleashed a flurry of tricks to spur adoption, but none has proven effective. So they basically have been bullying people at this point. They decided, this article goes on to say that the government has decided to stop printing cash money. They've decided to stop printing it. They're not going to do it. And they've even started to restrict how much money you can take out. So it says here, unfortunately, the Nigerian government right here, unfortunately, the Nigerian government doubled down and moved to more drastic measures by restricting cash itself. In December, the Central Bank of Nigeria began restricting cash withdrawals to 100,000 naira, which is about $225 US dollars per week for individuals, and 500,000 naira, or $1,123 for businesses. To make matters worse, The Nigerian government also chose to redesign the currency during this time in a move aimed at restoring the control of the Central Bank of Nigeria over currency in circulation, and to further deepen the push to a cashless economy. So not only are citizens limited in how much they may withdraw, but the commercial banks also don't have the cash to give out because many are still waiting for the newly designed cash to arrive. With these restrictions in place, the Nigerian government managed to drain the economy of cash and set the stage for the CBDC to finally have its moment in the spotlight. And so the article goes on, talks about, you know, people that pretty much say, hey, you can't do this. You just can't force this down our throats. Well, they're still are doing it. They're moving forward with the pushing this of down the throats of its people. Because again, not only restricting how much money you can take, but even if you go to a bank and they're willing to, you know, give you some money, a lot of them don't have it because of the shortage of money right now. And so it just goes on and on, talks about, you know, what's going to happen to Nigeria, you know, restrictions, financial institutions, and you can read it yourself here at this CoinDesk website. But I'm going to share one other thing with you regarding the same topic. This article is from the Christian Science Monitor, and the title of it is No Naira in Nigeria. What's a cashless reporter to do? So this person right here, he is a reporter, and he needed to go to Lagos, Nigeria. And his name is Carlos Murethi. So let me read a little bit of what happened to him. I slid a mint $100 bill across the counter at a currency exchange shop at Lagos Airport and waited for the attendant to hand me back the equivalent in Nigeria, Naira. It was February 16th, and I had just arrived in Nigeria to cover the country's much anticipated presidential election. My mind was spinning with plans to attend rallies, interview voters, and shadow canvassers when suddenly the currency attendant's voice had called me back to reality. We don't have money, she said, standing in front of boards showing exchange rates in different gold currencies. There's a Naira shortage. That was my abrupt introduction to Nigeria's cash crisis, caused by bungled rollout of new banknotes. It had gripped the country for weeks in the run-up to the February 25th presidential election. The crisis is bound to be top of Bola Tinubu's to-do list, now that he has been declared the winner in Nigeria's president-elect. In a heavily cash-dependent economy, the shortage has left people unable to buy basics such as food and water, or to catch buses to school and work. For me, the situation was less dire, but it did require some creative thinking. After the currency exchange attendant in the airport told me she had no cash, I asked if she had any idea how I could buy a local SIM card without it. She told me to give her the cost of the SIM card in dollars, and then she made an instant bank transfer from her personal account to the SIM card vendors. The vendor slid the new SIM into my phone. Crisis averted for now. So here we have this correspondent, this journalist going to this foreign country, trying to get the scoop on, you know, the election, what's going on. He's thinking the usual, right? Business as usual. Nothing has changed, even though we just came from a pandemic. Plenty of scandal around that, plenty of scandal around everything else around you, but everything's still the same, right? Everybody thinks that, including him. So he just goes, lands in this country, in Nigeria, and he figures out what's going on immediately. They are short on cash. This reminds me of, I'm going to read a little bit more here, but to drive the point, but it reminds me of when I was still working at another firm 3-4 years ago now, and the pandemic was just was in Taiwan at that point and in China. And our manager, my manager, had family in Taiwan. And so we decided, you know what, all these things are going on. They don't have proper protection. They don't have Clorox wipes. They don't have just personal protection, right? So we decided to get together as a group, her group, a big box, a care box package with a lot of things, and send it over to them. Well, the problem was not that her family didn't have money. They had plenty of money, but there was nothing to buy. What good is having so much money in your bank account, but there is nothing to buy? What are you going to do? Eat it? Maybe you could burn it to keep warm, but there was nothing to buy. So that was another type of problem, but still the same concept. Here, there is not enough money. There isn't enough money for the Nigerians. So how do they communicate? How do they go to school, to work? How do they live? How do they buy food? How do they buy water? And so here it's, wasting fuel for nothing. So here we're talking about what happened to just an ordinary Nigerian. The origins of this cash shortage stretch back to October, when Nigeria's central bank announced that the new Naira notes would be introduced in some denominations to fight counterfeiting and hoarding, among other reasons. Nigerians had until February 10th to turn in old notes. Most did so, expecting that they'd get new money right away. It turned out, though, that few of the newly designed notes were available. Banks began severely restricting the amount of cash people could take out of their accounts. Every day, Nigerians thronged to banks and ATMs, forming hours-long queues to try to get their money. In some parts of the country, angry citizens even burned down banks. So these people are so angry by this point. They've been put through so much hardship and pain. They're so angry that they burned down banks. All this was going on at a crucial moment in Nigeria's history. After years of insecurity, rising unemployment, and failing economy, Nigerians were about to vote in a presidential election that many hoped would turn the country around. Instead, the cash crisis was exacerbating the problems. So let's look at Austin Ajemi, who drives a tuk-tuk known locally as a keke. Told me business was way down because people didn't have the new notes to pay for trips. Some, he added, might have the money in their accounts, but they lacked smartphones to do cashless bank transfers. He says, "We have just been driving up and down, wasting our fuel for nothing," he said outside a gas station in Ikeja, an area of Lagos where he was waiting for passengers. So this is how people are struggling, okay? Look at this. Usually he makes about 13,000 naira or $28 a day. But with the money shortage, he's been earning less than 8,000, which is $17. Most of it paid by bank transfers. That means his earnings are locked into the same limbo as his customers. He can't buy groceries for his family, for instance, because most of the food sellers he purchases from deal in cash. So people are having, this is not a life anymore. It's just a struggle to survive day after day. This is what they're doing. Now, this says mobile money saves the day for some. And it says, as with many crises, Nigerians are finding ways to get by. Those who can pay for goods with banking apps on their phones. Others use debit cards. But in a country where only 45% of adults had bank accounts in 2021, such methods include most of the population. So many people without bank accounts have started to use mobile money, a service popular in many other African countries that allows users to keep and send money from digital wallet on their phone. The value of mobile money transactions has gone up by 25% to 5.4 billion since the currency exchange was announced. So this journalist finally gets out of Nigeria. He wanted to buy, he usually when he's in Nigeria, he wants to buy a snack along the roadside and give them, give them money, a little bit more, with cash. But in this case, he couldn't. He said he was tired after going through that whole experience. It left him frustrated and tired of just dealing with the whole situation. And of course, he's wondering, how can everyday Nigerians deal with this? How can they do this? How can they keep on existing and surviving? Well, as of last that I heard, the situation has not changed but gotten worse. The cash is still limited withdrawals, and it's slowly but surely disappearing even more. What they want to do really is pretty much turn it into a cashless society, a cashless country. And if you don't go along with the system, as we've just seen in these articles, you will not be able to partake in society. You won't be able to eat. You won't be able to transport yourself, transportation. You won't be able to work. And that's how the decline of your society starts for those who don't get on the same boat as everybody else, who don't go along with the agenda. And in this case is getting and going into a cashless society. Okay, I want to just turn to Revelation 18:4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, "Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities." Now, again, Revelation 18:4. That's talking about what is going on right now, in my opinion. It's going on, what is going on across the world. How we have taken God out of everything we do, out of everything we have. And we have given way to tyrants to rule over us. Because of course, we're people who need to be ruled, right? Instead of understanding that we have a God who will take care of us, provide for us, lead us, and guide us. We always need a president, right? We always need a vice president. We always need a king, right? Because they know better than us, right? They're better than us. They're smarter than us. That's what we keep saying again and again, because we keep repeating the same things again and again. There is no political solution for spiritual problems, people. There just isn't. I'm sorry. It's hard to hear. It's hard to understand a little bit, but if you stop, think, and breathe and read the word, you understand that it is. One last article here very quickly. I thought it was very, very interesting. It's from the American Greatness. Are we the Byzantines? Okay, really quick. I'll read a little bit here. When Constantinople finally fell to the Ottomans on Tuesday, May 29th, 1453, the Byzantine Empire and its capital had survived for 1,000 years beyond the fall of the Western Empire at Rome. Always outnumbered in a sea of enemies, the Byzantine survival had depended on its realistic diplomacy of dividing its enemies, avoiding military quagmires, and ensuring constant deterrence. Generations of self-sacrifice ensured ample investment for infrastructure. Each generation inherited and improved on singular aqueducts and cisterns, sewer systems, and the most complex and formidable city fortifications in the world. Brilliant scientific advancement and engineering gave empire advantages like swift galleys and flamethrowers, an ancient precursor to Nephilim. The law reigned supreme for nearly a millennium after the Emperor Justinian codified a prior 1,000 years of Roman jurisprudence. Yet this millennium-old crown jewel of the ancient world that once was home to 800,000 citizens had only 50,000 inhabitants left when it fell. There were only 7,000 defenders on the walls to hold back a huge Turkish army of over 150,000 attackers. The Islamic winners took over the once magical city of Constantine and renamed it Istanbul. It had been the home of the renowned Santa Sofia, the largest Christian church in the world for over 900 years. Almost immediately, this Church of the Holy Wisdom was converted into the largest mosque in the Islamic world, with minarets to follow. So what happened to the once indomitable city fortress and its empire? Christendom had cannibalized itself. Let's read that again right here. Christendom had cannibalized itself. Western Catholicism and Eastern Orthodoxy fought endlessly. Westerners often hated each other more than they did their common enemy. Isn't that what's kind of going on here right now in our country? And amongst the Christians, the conservatives, the people of God, right? We're attacking each other. Christendom at that point had cannibalized itself. We're doing that right here, right now. You're living it, I'm living it. You're witnessing it, I am too. We hate each other more than the enemies outside of our borders. We are enemies across the way, across doctrines, across churches. And instead of really focusing and doing our one job, which is what? To be a God-fearing, Jesus lover, Jesus believing, Jesus follower, and spread the gospel of Christ, we are concentrated on outdoing each other, our neighbors, our frenemies, whoever that may be, whatever color they have, whatever denomination they're from. That's what we're concentrating on. Or we're concentrating on creature comforts. We don't have this, we don't have that, oh, woe is me. Really? Is that all there is to your life? Really? No wonder. No wonder Christendom is cannibalizing itself right now. In the final days of Constantinople, almost no help was sent. Listen to this. Almost no help was sent from Western Europe to the besieged city. I wonder what they did to those people that they didn't want to be their friends anymore. Sounds a lot like a lot of stuff that's been going on here lately in this country. In fact, 250 years earlier, the Western Franks of the Fourth Crusade had detoured from the Holy Land to storm the supposedly allied Christian city of Constantinople. So it just goes on and it describes what happened, you know, but I'm going to focus here. The last generations of Byzantines had inherited a global reputation and standard of living that they themselves no longer earned. They neglected their former civic values and fought endless battles over obscure religious texts, doctrines, and vocabulary. They did not expand their anemic army and navy. They did not reunite their scattered Greek-speaking empire. They did not properly maintain their once life-giving walls. Instead of earning money through their accustomed nonstop trade, they inflated their currency and were forced to melt down the city's inherited gold and silver fixtures. So once again, it just goes on talking about, you know, what happened to the Byzantines and how America is following in their own footsteps. Right here it states, like the Byzantines, Americans gave up defending their own borders and simply shrugged as millions overran them as they pleased. Our once iconic downtowns like end-stage Constantinople before the fall are now dirty, half-deserted, dangerous, and dysfunctional. And that right there, this sentence could actually not just describe our cities, but our own people inside of the American Christian. Dirty, half-deserted, dangerous, and dysfunctional. Dysfunctional because we're fighting amongst ourselves. We're hating each other across doctrines, across denominations. And that's exactly how Constantinople fell. Why the Byzantine Empire fell. They cannibalized from within. Anyway, if you want to read the entire article, we will have this posted under current events. Very interesting article, and it really does speak to what is going on right here, right now. Very sad, but very interesting. And please just be aware of what's going on, because it really is a dangerous place out there right now.